chosen person. They thought they could silence you. They thought they could shade your light. But they forgot that you are a being who walks with the power of divine protection and carries the truth. Now, they bow their heads and confess their regret. Where they tried to destroy you, they faced their own darkness. They are looking for ways to say, "Forgive us," because your unshakable light has unmasked all their masks. Start the transformation by writing 77 in the comments. Your power has created transformation. Even they have now seen the truth. You. The corrupt forces you face thought they had every advantage, using their influence to manipulate and intimidate. They relied on deception, tracking your every move with unmarked cars, stopping you without reason, and fabricating accusations to trap you in their web of control. But they underestimated the unseen power that surrounds you, a force beyond their understanding or reach. Their carefully laid plans began to falter in ways they couldn't explain. The tools of their control, cameras, radios, and even their own conviction, started failing the moment they entered your presence. Mysterious disruptions silenced their communications, their recordings erased themselves, and strange phenomena left them questioning their grip on reality. Shadows of something greater loomed, stripping them of the certainty they once wore, like armor. When their efforts escalated, they encountered a truth that left them shaken. The energy surrounding you is undeniable, illuminating every hidden corner of their intentions. As they pressed forward, their own fears were laid bare, reflected back like a mirror they couldn't escape. Some claimed they saw an unexplainable brilliance. Others spoke of an overwhelming presence that rendered their threats powerless. Their authority crumbled under the weight of this unyielding force, leaving them exposed, vulnerable, and questioning their purpose. Their systems and strategies, built on fear and manipulation, have no blueprint for the strength you embody. Their assumptions collapse under the weight of your presence, scattering their cohesion. They cannot name, define, or counter what stands before them. And so, the very foundation of their power disintegrates, one fragile piece at a time, leaving them grappling with a force that shatters every illusion they've depended on. The balance of justice tilts in ways they cannot fathom, shifting the very ground beneath their actions. They approach with absolute confidence, assuming their force is unshakable, their authority unquestionable. Yet the moment they cross the threshold, an unseen reckoning begins to unfold. Their strategies falter, and the assurance they carried dissolves into confusion. The pressure they aim at you finds no purchase. It drifts, unresolved, lingering like a weight that turns back on them. Every command they issue, every display of control, feels strangely ineffective, as if the laws they follow no longer apply. Instead of breaking you, their efforts become the catalyst for something greater. What they intended as a show of power exposes their own fragility, each action fueling the very presence they sought to diminish. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. This is no sudden downfall, but an unraveling they are powerless to stop. The actions they took in secrecy now ripple outward, no longer contained within their grasp. They tried to wield their influence in darkness, unaware that their every move carried an unbreakable thread leading back to them. Slowly, their carefully constructed facade begins to erode. Their decisions, once shielded by systems of control, now betray them. The hands that once enforced authority falter, and the voices that commanded compliance waver under an invisible weight. What they thought was power becomes their undoing, as consequences unfold in a rhythm beyond their control. There is no escape, no bargaining, no rewriting the outcome. The forces they invoked return with a certainty that cannot be denied, and the illusion of protection crumbles under the reality they cannot evade. From the moment their path intersected with yours, the shift began. It was subtle at first, a quiet tension that grew with every interaction. Their instincts betrayed them before their minds could comprehend the source. Protocols, authority, and the tools of intimidation, none of these held their ground in the presence of something that transcended their understanding. Doubt crept into their movements, each gesture weighted with hesitation. Their confidence fractured as they struggled to reconcile what they felt with what they thought they knew. This wasn't resistance or defiance, it was a silence that spoke louder than their commands, a stillness that disarmed their aggression. They couldn't name it, couldn't categorize it, and in their inability to define it, their own composure unraveled. The longer they stayed, the heavier their steps, the sharper their unease. The fortress of transformation is not built for the faint of heart. It is an unyielding realm where those who rise above mediocrity shape their destiny with precision and intent. Here, every moment is a crucible, refining vision into reality through relentless focus and action. Within this sanctuary, individuals forge connections that transcend mere networking, creating a synergy of brilliance that propels each participant toward mastery. Strategies are not whispered, but forged, unfiltered and raw, designed to dismantle limitations and reshape possibilities. Every session is a tool of evolution, every interaction a step toward dominion over one's reality. The power exchanged here is not fleeting inspiration, but a foundation for transformation that endures. This is not an invitation. It is a call to rise to the pinnacle of your potential and claim the reality waiting on the other side of effort. When force arrives, seeking submission, it finds something far beyond its grasp. An unshakable presence dismantles the illusion of control, not with defiance, but with silence that echoes louder than any rebellion. They are conditioned to equate authority with dominance, yet their power disintegrates the moment they encounter an immovable force that does not react. Their attempts to provoke falter as every command, every maneuver dissipates into emptiness. What they see as their strength becomes their undoing, exposing the hollowness of their authority. The harder they push, the clearer it becomes that the true power in the room is not theirs to wield. Without resistance to justify their aggression, they are left confronting the one thing they fear most: their own limitations. Their confidence, once their armor, fractures under the weight of a presence that stands unwavering. They leave not as victors, but as shadows of their former selves, retreating with the unsettling awareness that the real battle was never theirs to win. It's like the rising sun after a long night, steady, undeniable, and powerful. No matter how deeply the darkness stretches, no matter how many hours it claims, the sun always breaks through. That first light doesn't argue with the night. It doesn't rush or falter. It simply appears, and everything hidden is suddenly revealed. Shadows flee, and what once felt endless is shown for what it is: temporary, fleeting, and powerless in the face of the day. Corruption, like that darkness, thrives where light has yet to reach. It whispers in hushed tones, grows in the unnoticed corners, and shields itself with layers of deception. It doesn't confront the truth head-on. It hides from it, cloaking itself in the appearance of virtue. It pretends to uphold justice, wearing a mask that convinces others and even itself. Yet this facade, no matter how carefully crafted, cannot withstand the relentless nature of truth. Truth is not something you can argue with or bend to your will. It stands unshaken, moving through every lie, stripping away every excuse, and exposing every betrayal. The light of truth does not shout, it simply shines. And when it does, what was concealed in darkness is laid bare. Corruption thrives only because it assumes the light will not come. But the light always comes. It doesn't tire, doesn't negotiate, and doesn't look the other way. For too long, corruption hides behind the illusion of power. It struts with confidence, cloaking its deeds in the guise of righteousness. But the system it depends on is built on sand, and when the tide of truth rises, it washes away every false foundation. This isn't an act of violence or force. It's the gentle but unstoppable nature of light meeting darkness. Lies dissolve in its presence, not because the light attacks, but because the lies cannot exist where the light shines. Corruption convinces itself it is untouchable, that its deeds are too deeply rooted, too cleverly concealed to ever face judgment. Yet the truth, like the dawn, approaches without hesitation. It doesn't rush to meet the darkness because it doesn't need to. The inevitability of its arrival is enough to undo everything built in its absence. When the truth arrives, corruption is not defeated by force. It collapses under the weight of its own emptiness. The whispers of deceit and betrayal grow quiet as they are replaced by the undeniable voice of what is real. Corruption may convince itself it can endure, but deep down, it knows the truth will not compromise. It will not make deals, and it cannot be swayed. What is right stands firm, unmoved by the schemes of those who think they can outwit it. For those who have built their lives in the shadow of corruption, the arrival of the light is more than exposure. It is a reckoning. Every decision made in secret, every act justified by greed or fear, every betrayal that seemed small at the time, it all comes to the surface. The truth does not forget. It does not grow weary. It stands, waiting for its moment to shine. When the light reveals what has been hidden, the reaction is always the same. Some will deny what they see, clinging to the illusion even as it crumbles. Others will try to fight it, throwing every last ounce of their strength against something they cannot touch. But there are those who will finally see clearly, understanding for the first time the cost of their choices. They will recognize the futility of hiding from the truth and surrender to it, not as a punishment, but as a chance for redemption. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. The light does not come to destroy, it comes to transform. It does not expose for the sake of humiliation, but for the sake of renewal. Even those who have spent years living in darkness can find a new beginning in the light, but only if they are willing to let go of what once defined them. For the chosen ones, this is the assurance you carry. You don't have to force the truth to shine. You don't have to fight corruption on its terms. The light that surrounds you is enough. By standing firm, by refusing to bend to the schemes of those who operate in shadows, you become a beacon of what is right. You are the proof that the light cannot be extinguished, and that truth, no matter how long it takes, will always prevail. This is the nature of divine presence. It doesn't rush or waver. It doesn't grow weak in the face of opposition. It simply exists, and in its existence, everything false begins to unravel. Corruption, no matter how deeply rooted, cannot survive in the presence of something so unwaveringly pure. It may fight, it may resist, but the end is inevitable. For those who stand in the light, the lesson is clear. You are not required to match the tactics of those who oppose you. You do not need to meet their schemes with schemes of your own. Your strength is in your stillness, in your unwavering commitment to what is true. The systems of corruption may rage against you, but they will falter. The lies they tell will collapse under their own weight. And as the light grows, you will see them for what they are, temporary distractions from the eternal power of truth. The light does not fail. It does not hesitate. It rises, as sure as the sun rises every morning. And just as the sun dispels the night without effort, so too does truth dispel corruption. All that is required is for you to stand firm, knowing that the divine presence within you is enough to withstand anything the darkness may try to bring. Those who have abused their power often believe themselves invincible, protected by the very systems they've twisted to serve their purposes. They sit on thrones built on manipulation, hold titles propped up by fear, and speak words that carry no substance. But their power is borrowed, their authority an illusion, a fragile construct that cannot withstand the weight of truth. When the light finally reaches them, when the force of justice that transcends human law rises, their carefully constructed facade begins to fall apart. The masks slip, the confidence fades. The system they relied upon to protect them starts to show its cracks. It's not an act of rebellion that undoes them. It's a quiet, unyielding revelation. They look into the light, and they are forced to see themselves for what they are. They see the decisions made in darkened rooms, the compromises that chipped away at their integrity, the alliances forged in greed. They see every moment they traded what was right for what was easy, every time they chose convenience over conviction. And in that reflection, they come face to face with the undeniable truth. Their corruption was never hidden. It was simply waiting for the moment to be revealed. When they encounter those who walk with an unshakable presence, they cannot comprehend what they are up against. Their methods, so effective against fear, fail against faith. Their tactics, designed to intimidate, falter against a force that does not flinch. They are accustomed to silencing opposition. But what they face now is not opposition. It is a presence that doesn't waver, doesn't fight, but stands firm in the certainty of what is right. And that presence alone is enough to dismantle them. Their alliances, built in secrecy, begin to unravel. The forces they relied upon turn against them. Their lies come back to haunt them. And the systems they thought would shield them crumble beneath the weight of their own misdeeds. This is not the vengeance of man, but the justice of a higher law, a divine reckoning that operates on a plane they cannot control. It does not rush. It does not shout. It simply waits, knowing that every action, every choice, every seed of corruption sown will bear its fruit in due time. And when that harvest comes, there is no escape. The light doesn't forget. It doesn't overlook. It sees all, and it holds all accountable. Those who believe themselves untouchable find that their power was always temporary, their authority always conditional. The thrones they built on lies collapse, and the only thing left is the truth they tried so desperately to avoid. Some will try to resist the unraveling, clinging to their illusions of control. They will double down on their tactics, hoping to force the world back into alignment with their will. But the harder they push, the faster they fall, because power built on fear cannot sustain itself in the presence of truth. Others will flee, unable to face what they've become, retreating into the shadows in a futile attempt to escape the light. But there is no escape. The truth is everywhere, and it will find them wherever they go. And then there are those who will break, not out of fear, but out of understanding. They will lay down their weapons, their titles, their pretense, and they will surrender, not to man, not to law, but to the divine presence that they cannot deny. They will see clearly for the first time, and in that clarity, they will find the beginnings of redemption. Because while the truth is unyielding, it is also merciful. It does not seek to destroy, but to transform. It reveals not to punish, but to awaken. For those who stand in the light, the lesson is clear. You do not need to fight corruption with its own weapons. You do not need to stoop to its level or play by its rules. The light of truth is your strength, and it is enough. Stand firm in it, and you will see the walls of deception crumble around you. You will see the systems of oppression falter and fall. You will see those who once stood against you brought low by their own actions, and you will remain unshaken, untouched, because the truth cannot be defeated. This is not just a story of exposure, it is a story of transformation. It is a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, the light always prevails. It is a call to stand firm, to trust in the divine, and to know that justice, though it may be delayed, is always inevitable. The light does not fail. The truth does not waver. And those who walk in alignment with it will never be moved. Integrity cannot be measured in wealth or status, but in the choices made when no one else is watching. Those who compromise their values for fleeting gain find themselves ensnared in a cycle of emptiness that no material possession can fill. True authority is not about control, but about alignment with something greater than oneself, an unyielding truth that stands beyond time, beyond systems, beyond manipulation. The structures they trust to shield them, their ranks, their regulations, their alliances, hold no sway over what exists outside their reach. They act as though their power is eternal, yet every empire that sought to oppress those aligned with a higher purpose has met the same fate: collapse. Their weapons are aimed not at rebellion, but at the embodiment of what they fear most. A force they cannot subdue, a presence they cannot erase. And as history has shown, no force built on corruption can endure when faced with the undeniable strength of what is just and true. The playbook is familiar, predictable in its structure. They cast you as the disruptor, the anomaly threatening their carefully maintained order. But their unease stems not from what you do, but from what you reveal. They do not hunt chaos, they hunt clarity. Their actions are not born from justice, but from the fear that the truth you embody will collapse the framework they so desperately cling to. Every law they rewrite, every effort to control the narrative, Every weapon sharpened in the shadows is a futile attempt to outpace a collapse that began long before you arrived. Power built on deception cannot endure. The moment they targeted the unshakable, their own undoing was set in motion. What they mistake for strength, force, coercion, fear, is already eroding beneath the weight of something immutable. They arrive believing their commands will echo unchallenged, their authority unquestioned. Yet as they step forward, they falter, not because of resistance, but because of the absence of it. They are not met with fear or submission, but with something beyond their comprehension, a calm that defies their control. In that stillness, the cracks in their certainty deepen, and they begin to feel the weight of a truth they cannot escape. Their strategies, once precise and unrelenting, falter in the presence of a force they cannot categorize. It begins with a subtle discomfort, an intangible pressure that follows them even after they retreat. They try to rationalize it as a passing moment, another task completed, another target pursued. Yet the unease lingers, growing heavier with every thought, every memory of what they encountered. It is not resistance that unravels them, but the truth they can no longer ignore. Their actions reverberate, exposing the hollowness of their allegiance to a structure that no longer holds. What they wielded as power becomes an anchor, dragging them deeper into the consequences they once believed themselves immune to. Their system, built on layers of corruption, begins to fracture. And as it collapses, they realize their role was never that of enforcers, but of pawns in a game that consumes its own. They step forward, shields of authority raised, expecting their commands to reshape the world around them. But as they stand in a space they cannot control, their sense of dominance begins to dissolve. Their words lose their weight, their presence fails to command. The tools of their control, laws, orders, titles, lose their potency, reduced to symbols with no force behind them. In this moment, they encounter something they were never trained to face, a reality where their power has no jurisdiction. Some push harder, clinging to their methods, unwilling to accept the shift. Others falter, unable to deny the undeniable presence of something greater than themselves. They came to dominate, but instead find themselves confronted by an immovable stillness that reflects their own fragility. Now is the time to share God's blessings. By clicking the super thank you button on YouTube, you can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Among them, a few will break, not out of fear, but from a newfound clarity. They will lower their weapons, questioning the purpose they once carried with pride. The illusion of authority dissolves as they see their place within a system built on false foundations. The past they upheld begins to haunt them. The future they sought to impose slips from their grasp, and the present becomes a mirror they cannot escape. Those who continue will do so out of desperation, clinging to the structures they know even as they collapse around them. Those who turn away will carry the weight of what they've witnessed, unable to forget the moment their certainty unraveled. What they encounter is not defiance, not resistance, but the presence of something unyielding, something beyond time, beyond fear, beyond their reach. Their corruption, long sustained by secrecy, meets a force that operates in full transparency. It does not strike, it simply exists. And in its existence, every lie they built their power upon begins to erode. They came to erase, but instead, they left changed. They sought to silence, but instead, their actions amplified what they feared most. This is not just a moment of confrontation. It is a turning point they will never escape. What they tried to crush only became a monument to the truth they could not contain.